We have all been there. You start crocheting with excitement and then bam, something goes terribly wrong. From lopsided limbs to stuffing disasters, these 10 crochet fails will make you laugh or maybe cry. If you're new here in the channel, I am Bianca from Crocheniacs, and if you want to learn how to crochet amigurumi from scratch, or if just like me, you love everything amigurumi related, then this is the right channel for you. Fail number 1, the overstuffing explosion.
Just a little bit more stuffing. This will get me to the perfect shape.
And before you know it, your amigurumi is bursting at the seams like jeans too size too small. So add stuffing gradually, constantly squeezing your amigurumi to see if there are empty spots because you don't want it to be flat either. And well, once it's enough, it's firm and you don't see the stitches opening and you don't see gaps being created between stitches, you're good to go. But if you have more questions regarding stuffing, I recommend you type stuffing here in my channel because there are other videos fully dedicated to the topic. Fail number 2, lopsided limbs. Like, why is one arm bigger than the other? But why does it look like your amigurumi is trying to reach the top of the shelf with only one arm? Well, you swear you followed the pattern exactly as it was written. It really reminds me of when I made my first amigurumi, which was a bunny actually. On the one hand, I was so proud of myself for finishing the project because it was my first one. But in the other hand, the amigurumi was so ugly. I wanted to throw it away. I am so happy I didn't. I don't have it here with me. I kept the amigurumi in Brazil. It's in my mother-in-law's house, but I saved it. And it's good to have this amigurumi as a reminder of how I started, how everything started like 10 years ago. But the amigurumi is super ugly. One arm is way longer than the other. He's like this. And of course the pattern was right. The problem was not with the pattern. I was just a complete beginner. It was my first amigurumi. Like I have had crocheted amigurumi balls before, polka balls, but a whole toy, a whole amigurumi, it had been the first one and it was awful. I don't know where I went wrong with it, but it was my fault. So my tip for you, if you're a beginner, always count your stitches. Don't skip this part, finish the round, count your stitches. If it doesn't match, go back. Yeah, it's the best way to go. Fail number 3, the unraveling disaster. Well, you spent hours crocheting the cutest amigurumi, carefully sewing everything together. Well, you proudly handed to your friend's kid, and with only one hug, the ears pops right off. I've been through that. It's awful. I hope you have never experienced this, but it's really, really bad. At the time, I didn't know that I was supposed to think about who I was gifting the amigurumi. Is it a kid? Is it an adult? What is the purpose of the amigurumi? It's just for decorating, or is it like a toy for a kid to play? Because then it demands different techniques. Fail number 4, the crochet cramp. And it's basically when your hands give up before your heart does. Because you're there in the zone, simply creating and progressing with your project. You're so excited, but then your body starts to give up. And it's not like your body's giving up. It's simply giving you signals that it's time to stop. It's time to give yourself rest. True story, last year I was so focused in finishing a project. I was so determined that I crocheted the whole weekend non-stop. And the result of it was like 3 months of tendinitis, lots of physiotherapy, and I had to pause all my crochet projects. So don't do that to yourself. Treat yourself well. Treat your body with respect, because we want to be 90 years old or more, if God allows us to, and still crochet. Fail number 5, gauge gone wrong. Well, Actually, this project was exactly the same one that I told you before that I gifted to a friend's kid. Well, I completely ignored the yarn that was recommended, and it's not like you have to use exactly the same yarn that the designer is mentioning in the pattern. There is another video that I talk about it here in the channel where I teach you how to substitute the yarn correctly. But in that case, I didn't have, of course, the same yarn because I was in Brazil, and the pattern that I bought was from a foreigner designer, and I didn't have the same brands available, but I should have checked the yarn weight, and I completely ignored. I thought I was going to have a small amigurumi, like a palm-sized amigurumi, and I ended up with a huge toy that was like more than, I don't know, 20 centimeters, and it was so big. It was not what I wanted. So yeah, always check the yarn weight that the pattern is recommending. Fail number 6, mismatched eyes. Well, this one never happened to me, but I have seen that it happened to lots of people. Simply, your amigurumi had like one eye in one round and the other in the following round, and it looked weird in the end. My tip for you to avoid this kind of thing to happen to you again is always pin the place that you had to put the safety eyes before actually creating the gap, because pins are so thin that they will not open the stitches, they will not create gaps in your amigurumi. So for example, if the pattern says insert the safety eyes between rounds 14 and 15, do not place the safety eyes straight to the amigurumi. Place pins first. And then the pattern says, I don't know, the eyes are 10 stitches apart from each other. So place the pins first, put the amigurumi a bit further. Is it well placed? See if they are in the same line and if the distance is correct. And then you open the gaps between stitches to insert the safety eyes. This is the best way to go. Fail number 7, the pattern panic. Well, basically when you realize that you misread the pattern halfway through. You're there happily crocheting and then something looks off. You go back to the pattern and oops, I did it again. This one also happened to me when I was working on a commission many years ago. I was crocheting a dragon. The girl ordered 2 or 3 dragons, I don't remember exactly. And I was so excited to work on the project, but I ignored a couple of things in the pattern. And when I looked at it, I don't know, I was basically almost at the end of the body when I realized I skipped very important parts in the middle of the amigurumi and I had to frog lots of rounds. Fail number 8, the color clash. Oh my god, what I was thinking with that one. Once I made a cat that was supposed to be cozy and cute, but it ended up looking like a clown. The vision in my head is that it was going to look so fluffy and charming, but it ended up like a circus mascot. I simply chose the wrong colors and it was too colorful for a cat. It was not good. Let me know here in the comments if you have ever made the wrong choice with colors. I know I'm not the only one here. I still have 2 more fails to share with you in today's video, but before we go to that, please remember to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the tips, tricks, tutorials, and everything that I bring here to the channel every week. Fail number 9, the yarn shortage. You're there, about to finish your amigurumi, in the final touches of your project, when you realize the yarn is not enough. And all you want is to cry. Once I had this project, yeah, I have lots of stories because I've been doing it for a decade. So yeah, I always have things to share. Once I had a project that took me like 2 to 3 months to finish simply because I ran out of yarn and the company didn't have enough in stock. So I simply had to change my initial idea and adapt because I had a deadline for the project, and it was awful. It was awful. Fail number 10, the stitch count. Of course I was going to mention it. Which amigurumi crocheter has never lost count in their project? I had never met one. We are simply there crocheting, counting stitches, and it happens. We lose track. Sometimes we lose track, especially if you're not using stitch markers. And in the end, your amigurumi looks weird and you don't even know where it all started. But when you realize it's too late. Remember, stitch markers are a crocheter best friend. Do never work without them. But please tell me, have you ever experienced any of these fails that I mentioned in today's video? Or have you ever experienced a different fail? I would love to hear your stories. Have fun, or maybe cry a little bit. Some of these fails are funny now, but some of them we literally want to cry. So I would love to hear from you and learn from your stories as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll leave you with this video here because I am sure you'll like it too.